Hey guys, so I'm getting ready to install this garage door opener here, and when I installed this garage door a couple of months ago, I had some comments. People expressed interest in seeing the actual opener installation, so I thought I'd go ahead and record that too. So I'm installing a Genie opener. You know, most openers, I've done different kinds. Most openers, the installation is generally pretty much the same. So we'll run through this. It's pretty easy process, but I know it's always a little bit easier when you see it done on video. So let's get to it. First step is to drop everything all over the floor. So we'll get everything out of the box. I kind of like the way they do this, actually. As you can see, the bags are all different colors, and as you go through the instructions, they basically say, okay, go to the green bag, go to the blue bag, and so it's you know, you're not guessing. Sometimes there's so many hardware bags that, you know, it's kind of hard to find what nut and bolt you're supposed to be working with at that current time. But I like the way that Genie does this. It's kind of slick. There's the actual head unit, the motor. So we'll set this aside for now. So we've got wire so we can run for our sensors as well as to the wall switch. We'll set that aside for now. Cover, the actual wall switch. So there's your opener for in the car. So I'm just going to set aside a few of these things that we don't need right now. Here's your arms that go to between the door and the trolley. So first thing we're going to do is get this pack of track opened up. So I'll just show you. Again, the way they lay this out, so try to get this on camera. So they show, here's obviously the instructions, and they got the orange parts bag, which is pretty handy. There's one section down here. This is a belt model, so I need a clear parts bag. When you get to the back, they switch. Actually, what the other thing, so the actual instructions correlate with the color of the bag. So you get to the green section, you're in the green bag of hardware. You get to the blue section, blue bag of hardware. So pretty slick, really. So first thing that we need to do is take this rail section, and we're starting with our orange parts bag. To have something to contain everything so I don't end up kicking nuts and bolts across the floor. All right, so we're going to take this little roller wheel. This is what the belt goes around. We're going to take the section of the rail that's got the, you know, the slot in it. We're going to take a pin, we're going to take a clip. So the first step is we're just going to insert that roller wheel through the track, run the pin through, and this is the side with the wheel on it. This is the side that goes toward the door. So I'll just go ahead and slide all these sections of rail together. Some door manufacturers, these rail sections are tight, and you have to kind of slam them. Get them. These actually just kind of come right apart, which, you know, once everything's assembled isn't a problem because there's pressure on it and holds it all together. But that's a little bit different than Chamberlain doors. Chamberlain tracks are more friction fit. All right. So we have a rail. All right, so the next step is we're going to take the trolley, which is the piece that runs up and down the rail that the garage door either chain or belt attaches to. I'm just going to run this down the track. Let's see, I'm going to follow instructions here so I don't miss anything there. And then I think, okay, that's right. This piece here, this bracket is what actually secures to the garage door opener. And then this will go into the end of the rail on the opener side. And let's see. And our belt. And I will say they kind of brag this up as being quiet, which it is quiet, the belt. Typically, I always just get chain drive because they're generally less expensive, but these were actually on sale, so I got a belt drive this time. All right, so that, and then the other thing, which should be in my original parts bag, yeah, there's this bracket. This bracket goes over the top of the rail, and this will end up, get a little closer so you can see it. This just slides over the rail for now, and this will end up attaching to the top of the power head as well. We put this on now because we're going to feed the belt around, and the belt will kind of encase this. So for now, I'm just going to set this on the end. I'm going to take my piece here that attaches to the opener, and I'll go ahead and set this on here. Let's see, yeah, it goes that way, goes that way. So now we're gonna feed our belt. Let's see, gold threaded sections. So the way they do this, one end of the belt, there's a bolt on each end of the belt. One is kind of golden colored and one is silver in color. So they instruct you to feed the gold side through here. Like most things, this would be a little bit easier with two people, but it's not bad. All right, now we're going to take this. We're going to take this turnbuckle here, and one side will thread into here, one side will thread into here. There's a little, you can see that, but it tells you which side faces the door. And this is this gold side actually threads in counterclockwise, so it's reverse threaded. I'm going to slide this, drop your lock down, and slide the trolley over the turnbuckle. And then the silver side is just normal right-handed thread. Okay, so I'm going to double check, make sure that I don't have any twists in my belt. Looks like we're good. Make sure the belt is on the sprocket on that side. And now I'm just going to rotate this turnbuckle and tighten up the belt. And what the instructions say on this is it's tight enough when you have, I'll show you in a second. Okay, so what the instructions say is that rotating this turnbuckle until the belt hangs so that there is just a 1/4 inch gap. So you don't want your belt sagging way down like that. You want it tight enough so that there's just about a 1/4 inch gap on the bottom. So we got it there, maybe just a hair more snug. So once you get your turnbuckle adjusted properly, and it's got these little lock nuts here. Just grab hold of the turnbuckle. Can use, I'm sure what size nut this is. I'm sure it says the instructions 7/16 maybe, but I'm obviously just using a crescent wrench, which works just fine. All right, so our rail is assembled. Next step. I do like these instructions too. You know, normally you have a little book that you're flipping through multiple pages. Just one big sheet front and back works really slick. All right, so we got that. Time to go ahead and mount the motor. All right, so the motor, so we got this plastic bracket that we have on here. Basically, this is going to so this part is splined, and that is going to fit right onto the top of the motor, which is also splined. And then on that plastic bracket, there's a hole here, and then this strap that we put on here before is going to attach to these holes. So the bracket will be in the back, and that strap will be here, and that's what keeps everything nice and tight on the, keeps the rail nice and tight to the power head. Let's line this up. All right. Let's see, we need, so they give you self-tapping screws. These self-tappers are 7/16. And be careful you don't overdo it with this. This is just pretty thin metal here that we're tightening these into. Just snug them up. All right, those are snug, the motor's attached. Okay, in this model, since this is a belt drive, it's got this little belt keeper here that goes on the back, and that plastic bracket that attaches to the power head. You just put a couple screws in that. That just prevents that belt from wanting to jump off of that rear sprocket, I guess. All right, let's see. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and I'll show you what we've got here. So this is the bracket that the door side of that rail is going to attach to, and then they give you 2 lag screws. So I'll show you in a minute here, but what I'm going to do is attach that up above the door. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to find the center of the door. So the easiest way to do that is I'm just going to take a tape measure, which I think I have one here. These are 9-foot doors. So I'm going to just measure in 4.5 feet up at the top. Make a mark. All right, so there's 4'6". Double check from the other side just to make sure that you have an accurate measurement. I do, 4'6". So now what I'm gonna do is shut this door, and I'm gonna transfer a mark from that 4'6", and I'm gonna transfer it to the header. I'm gonna transfer center line, and then I'm also gonna get a horizontal to the top of the door, and I'll show you what I do next. It's gonna get dark in here probably, so it might be a little bit hard to see, so I just wanted to explain that. Before I get this center line mark up on that header, what I need to do, I need to figure out the highest point of travel on the garage door. So as it comes up, obviously it comes up and then it breaks over. And what I'm gonna do is get up on the ladder. This is another one of those things that's easier with two people, but I'm gonna lift the door up and then I'm gonna measure from the floor up to figure out the highest path of travel that the door actually is probably around there. This spring setting is about perfect, so this door stays in one place nicely. If your door constantly wants to go down on you, it's a lot easier to do this with two people. All right, so I'm just going to kind of bring it over. Right there, I'm about 93.25, 93 and a half. All right, so just kind of roll it back and forth. My door is just a little bit over 93 and a half. Yeah, just about 93 and a half. According to instructions, we need to go 2.5 inches higher than the highest point of travel. So 93 and a half, so that's 96 inches. So I'm going to come up. I already have my mark on the center of the door because I did that earlier. I'm going to come up to 96 inches, which is exactly 8 feet. And I'm going to put a mark approximately there. This doesn't have to be exact. Try to get it as centered as possible. The vertical measurement I don't think has to be perfectly exact. But basically all we're trying to do is make sure that you know, we mount this rail coming across, the door comes up and you don't want it to hit the rail. Now sometimes you may have to, depending on how your garage is framed or if it's finished or whatever, you may have to put a header piece in here. In this case, there's actually a piece of 3/4 inch plywood here, so that's good. The last one I did, when I did that side, I had to actually stick a 2x6 in there, just so I had something to attach this rail to, but in this case, it looks like we're good to go. Okay, so I've got my drill. I've also got an impact driver with a driver bit on it. These are 7/16 for these. Again, we're securing this bracket, these lag screws. So I'm going to pre-drill these. And all I'm going to do is hold this up. I'm going to center it on the door and then roughly on that horizontal mark that we made. And I can see that top hole that I just made is actually going to go into a stud. That top plate, so that's good. All right, That's not going anywhere. Before I go too far, I forgot one step. This bolt goes through this rail down by the door. And I think this is actually just a stop so that that trolley can't go too far if your door's out of adjustment. So I'll put that on there. I'll tighten that in just a second. So now what I'm going to do, I've got another one of these pins with another clip, and what's going to happen is the door is going to go up into that bracket. This head rail is going to go up into that bracket, and then I'm going to put that pin through there, and that's how the rail actually attaches to that bracket that's up on the header. And this is a step that is definitely much easier if you have two people. All right, to get this started, I'm going to, if you're working by yourself, good idea to have two ladders. Okay, so I'm going to pick the opener up. Where's my pin? I'm going to pick the opener up, and I'm going to set it on this ladder. If I can get a hold of that pin. I shouldn't say the rail. I'm just going to rest this rail on this ladder. And then I'll take this pin through there. And there's actually two holes in this head bracket. I'm just using the top one. Suppose you could use the bottom one. I don't think it really matters too much. Now, what I need to do, again, easier with two people, but I need to lift the door and get some kind of a spacer. This is the chunk of cardboard that comes out of the box, probably 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches thick. I'm going to set this on top of the door and then rest the rail on top of this. And that gives you, kind of gives you an approximate spacing so that when you hang your opener, you make sure that it doesn't make contact with your door. And this is why it's easier with two people. That cardboard provides a spacer, but it also prevents you from scratching the top of your garage door too. All right, so I'm just pulling the door up to, it should be maximum height there. Now I'm just letting this rest. You know, I made that center mark earlier, so I know right where that's at. I'm just going to let that rail rest there on the ceiling. Now it's time to go ahead and get it installed, hanging off of my, my 2x4 rafter here. All right, so we're moving on to the green bag of hardware. And this one contains, it's got little wire hangers. And then what we need right now, I've got a couple more leg screws and then some nuts and bolts. And what we're gonna do with these is attach the, we're actually gonna hang the opener. So This is going to depend on your situation. It's going to depend on which way your framing runs. If you've got, you know, drywalled ceiling, if you're just replacing an opener, you probably can just reuse your previous brackets. You may have to bend them a little bit or something to make them work. But in this case, I think this is going to be fairly straightforward. So I'm just going to attach. You know, there's several holes. Okay, actually I just changed my mind. So I was going to hang this back here, but my power outlet is on that side. So I'm actually going to come over to this side. See if I can find a better setup. Again, double check, make sure you're in the center of your door. All right, so it looks like if I can use that hole right there. So just find the combination of holes in the opener and holes in the angle iron brackets that they give you that'll work. And the way I like to do this is to attach it to the opener first, and then I'll come back and get the right direction. Attach it to the opener first, just loosely, and then I'll come back and I'll run my legs into this 2x4 up here. Okay. So just like before, got my impact driver. I'll go ahead and pre-drill these also. Oh, and then messing with it, I got myself off center, so I'm double checking that. Pull it up just a little bit. I'll go ahead and secure that side. And again, I've got this spacer here, but I'm lifting up just a little bit and kind of taking the slack out of the system so that it's so I've got some good height there, so I don't hit my door. And so I got this one side not temporarily, but lightly screwed in there, so I'm just lining up this side so that the opener is level. Take my second lag screw, I guess. Tighten them down. And then I'll do that with a wrench. Don't forget to come back and make sure you tighten your nut and bolt here. Make that good and snug. You don't want that to vibrate loose. All right. The opener's hanging a couple inches above the door. Looks good. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to the blue bag. And so what I'm going to show you here, I've got this bracket here. I'll just take you off the tripod and show you here. So I did this other side earlier. This is actually a new door. This is the door that I installed. This is an old door, which I know looks terrible from the back, but it actually looks good from the front. So on this old door, I had to take this bracket here, and I secured it there. And basically, I just pre-drilled, so I think some 1/8" holes, and then those are self-tapping screws, and find the center of the door. And what they tell you to do is to basically line up with approximately where your top roller is. So that's where I attach that. Now in this new door, it's set up to have it's set up for a garage door opener. And so it's got this bracket on it here. And as you can see, it looks like that top hole pretty well lines up with the top roller. So I don't have to use this or those self-tappers in this application, but I just wanted to show you what you may have to do if you're using an older door. All right, so what we're gonna do is attach, so these brackets are the ones that go to, this one hangs from the door itself, and then this is gonna come, and this is actually gonna attach to the trolley up here. Back to using one of these pins again. I'm just gonna stick that through. Wonderful. My pin is too wide for the hole. So I'm gonna have to find another thinner pin or a bolt to run through there. But what I can do is go ahead and attach the trolley side. So you get the idea. That goes on like that, comes back this, and then this is gonna get attached to the door. So I gotta do looking around and see if I can find a pin for this. I'll be back. All right, that works. I don't have any extra pins with me, but just drilled that out a little bit. Now, this pin is not long enough, so I am gonna have to do something here to make a more permanent installation. But for now, at least it's in there and I can get it set up and make it work. All right, now we're gonna attach, well, shut the door, obviously. And they say to run this trolley about 16 inches from the door, so there's 16 inches. And then got some more hardware. I'm gonna bring it a little bit closer because I wanna use the holes that are spaced as far apart as possible so that the connection of these two brackets is as stable as possible. All right, so I've got those in the bottom hole and the top hole. All right, nice and tight. On to the next step. All right, we're moving on to the yellow bag. So all the, the basically mounting mechanical stuff is complete. That's all there is to it. Now we need to get the electrical connections made. So we've got these safety sensors, and these are, of course, the way these work is they, it shoots a laser beam. So if a dog or a kid or somebody runs through the door and breaks that sensor, the door will automatically reverse. So safety device. So in this case, I'm going to, you can see I did this one before, and I'm going right to that bottom plate. On this door over here, this one I couldn't get a lot higher real easy, but I'll just do the same thing here. I'm just gonna go right to this bottom plate. That worked out okay. Now these obviously need to hit one another, so make sure when you mount this you get it as close to level as you can get it. On some models, like I know on the Chamberlains, you can actually adjust the head. On these, the head isn't adjustable, so I'm just kind of eyeballing to make sure I get them as close as I can to the right spot. I think I'm actually going to run a pilot hole in there.
This bracket is slotted, so if you need to adjust it a little bit, you can, but there's not a lot of adjustability in this. And I'm using, I think this is a 1/4 inch impact driver. You could just use a Phillips screwdriver too. This thing is not easy to install because this bracket should stick out farther this way because your tool wants to hit against this, so you can't get a straight shot. On the bolt. Kind of a bad design, I think. All right, that's fairly close to straight. And again, this is, there is one of those that's slotted, so if I have problems with the beam not hitting, I can loosen this up and rotate it. So I'll go ahead and throw this one on the other side, same thing. All right, so now next step is to get these safety sensors wired up. And you get a spool of wire, which should be plenty long to do whatever you need. So I'm just going to take a wire stripper, cut them in two, separate them a couple inches, and then just cut yourself, 1/4 to 3/8 or so wire. And on this side, on the sensor, it doesn't matter which wire goes on either side. And then they provide a bunch of these staples or insulators. So I'm going to quickly run this wire, and I'll just snake it up, close to the frame. I'm going to go up, and then I'll find some framing in the ceiling of the garage, and then I'm going to go back to the actual door opener itself. So I'll do that now, and I'll be back to you in a minute. So I've got my wire run. I know the lighting is tough in here. So wiring is run all the way up. Just find some framing to run it across. You can make it as tidy as you want, but got the right side. I also have the left side over here wired up. That one's run across the top plate over there, coming across. So at this point, you just need to look at your instructions because they're all going to probably be a little bit different. But most openers are going to have some kind of a trying to get this to a position where you can see with the lighting, but they're going to have a little I don't know, little connector spot there, and it's a little hard for me to do with one hand, but basically what you do is just take like a screwdriver or something, and if you can see that with the lighting, but you basically depress these, and then you can insert the wires into the hole. And in this case, one of these wires has a stripe on it, and one of them is just solid white. My stripe one goes in the first hole, and the solid white one goes in the second hole. So when it's done, you should have something that looks like that. And I should mention too, I think it goes without saying, but if you're replacing an opener and you've got existing wiring, reuse it. Don't rerun new. There's no reason to do that. Just reuse the existing. So now the next step is I need to stick with the wiring, and I'm going to run another wire from the motor here over here along the wall, and I'm going to drop one down above where this other opener's at. So I'll pull that wire, and then we can hook up the switch. All right, I am in the home stretch here. So I got the wire run across and down for my opener. I like to put them
side by side if I can, but in this case, I'm going to put them above one another. And this is labeled in here black and white and white. So the striped one goes on the black and white on the left, and the solid white goes on the left side. Let's make some little loops on my wire. Let's see, this one is striped. So that's the black and white one. All right. I might clean those wires up a little bit later, but good enough for now. So, I'm hooked up there. I've already got these wires hooked up to the power head. It's time to actually test the door. All right, guys, so I just realized that my battery went dead here, so I'm not sure what point we cut out, but I got both of my my wall units installed, so that's done. Everything's hooked up. Now it's time to adjust the actual door. So what I've done is I manually closed the door and make sure your trolley lock, that would be in the unlock position. Make sure that's flipped up. My little turnbuckle here that's actually going to engage with the trolley is about halfway down the middle of the track. So what I have to do is manually run that down until it clicks in and engages with the trolley. And different openers are going to be different on this Genie. What you do is press and hold the down button, the negative button, for a second until it starts blinking. And now, when I do that, I should mention too, I've got my camera plugged in, so my audio's probably not going to be the greatest, but apologize for that. So I'm going to manually now, you can see that trolley moving. I'm going to manually run this down until it engages. There. It's a little too much pressure, I can see that. Go up. Now I'm just going to right about there is where I want it. So then I'll hit the set button. Now I'll hold the plus till the purple light starts blinking, and then I can manually run it up. And now I'm just looking to get it so that it's fully open. You don't want to go too high, but I just want to make sure that I can get a full-size vehicle in here. There, that's perfect. Hit the set button. Now, give it a try. You can see that now that I cycled it, it's a little bit too high. So I'll just come back here, I'll press and hold the negative button again, or the down button, until it starts blinking. Cycle it down just a little bit. And I'll cycle it one more time. My door rollers are kind of squeaky, but the opener is very quiet. That'll work. So there you go, guys. That's the installation of a Genie garage door opener. Pretty simple process. So I hope you found that video helpful. If you did, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe if you're interested in seeing more home improvement videos like this one, and we'll see you soon. Thanks.